Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Happy Father's Day.
All right, all right.
Yeah, we're going to have a great Father's Day show. I want you to also don't forget to tune in to listenvisionlive.com so you can see the show in its entirety. I want to thank everyone that's on our Facebook feed. I'm not sitting close enough to my laptop like I normally am, so I can't give you all individual shout outs. But of course, as I always do, at the end of the show, I will take some time to read everyone's comments. As you can see, Sharon is not here, but have no fear because your favorite co-host is here, Sherelle Higgins. And I also have two fathers with me. We're going to have some Father's Day talk. Of course, I have to my right my children's father, Mr. James Higgins. Welcome, babe.
Hello, hello.
And I have to my left Alan Dorn.
Hey, how you doing?
And so for the first part of this show, we're going to talk to these two gentlemen. And then the second part of the show, we're going to talk to Alan's adult children. So it should be fun. That segment should certainly be a lot of fun. So as you all know, we always start this show with reading the scripture. Sharon's not here, so she sent me one to read as if I couldn't pick out my own scripture. So I'm going to go ahead and read the one that she sent me. It is, praise ye the Lord. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. His seed shall be mighty upon earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed. Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and his righteousness endureth forever. And that's Psalms 112, 1 through 3. Right. It is time to start our Father's Day talk. I wanted to have this show for a couple reasons. One is last year we missed having a Father's Day show for some reason or another. We had it a week later, so I wanted to have it on time this year. And then the second thing is I really want to put on display great African-American fathers, because there are so many stories in the media in which they want us to believe that these type of gentlemen don't exist in our community. And in fact, I read an article that Sharon sent me today too. Actually, it was a good article she sent me today where it was talking about how they come up with those stats that the dads are not in the home, and talking about African-American dads. And so contrary to what they want us to believe, we have 2.7 million African-American dads in the home, and we have 1.7 million that's not in the home. And so while they want us to believe that our great black men are absentee fathers, that they don't participate, that they are not around, that they are locked up, all of those myths that they want us to believe is just simply not true. And as we talk to Jim and Alan today, these are just two examples, right? This is not even, they just represent two examples. There are 2.7 million other examples out there. And so we are going to display their greatness today on this Father's Day show. So again, I'd like to say welcome to my husband of 27 years, something like that.
Since 91.
Right. Right. Since 91.
There you
We
go.
getting close. We getting close. And Alan Dorn. So let me just start with a quick question. How long have you been a father?
I've been a father since 1983.
See, he can't count either.
Long time.
How old's your oldest child?
Right. and babe, how long? I know the answer, but I'm gonna see if you know the answer. How long have you been a father?
21.
Look at you. Yes.
Soon to be 22. Coming up on
Yes.
22, July 1st.
Yeah. Look, you showing out.
I should remember my child's birthday.
Yes,
right?
you should.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
That's
I knew
the least
you knew
I
that.
could do.
Right. Can't remember how long we've been married, but that's all right.
Since 91. Since 91.
So the conversation today, I asked them that question because I wanted you all to see that we're going to be talking from experience, right? This is not going to be something that they heard about, or, you know, their kids are, 2 and 3 where they still real cute and you just kind of let them do whatever because it's so cute, or it's the first time that they've ever done. They have some experience going beyond so cute, and this is what they've always, this is the first thing they've done kind of phase. So let me ask you all this question. What brings you the greatest joy about being a father?
You can go first.
I can do that easily. When you see them do something that you've been trying to get them to do for a long time, you just get that look and you finally, teaching a young man to do something as a child, we've done it. I've done it for so long. I'm thinking everybody else should be able to do it. So, that's my way of training somebody. It's like, you should know how to do this. I'm going to show you, and we're going to do this. But, it's going to take some time and experience, over and over to do it, some repetitive action there so you can learn it. And so once really, like, you tell them something and you show them something and they end up doing it by themselves without you having to tell them to do it, then you feel kind of like a gratification that they're going to be okay. And that's just one thing, so okay, we got that, we can mark that off the list, now we go to something else. And so it just gives you that gratifying feeling that they did listen to you.
Okay, what about you, Alan?
And I agree with Jim, but for me, if they're able to self-sustain,
Say it.
Your
because
kid's
you
a
want to
little bit
know
older.
that when you leave this place, they can be able to take care of themselves,
Yes.
Yeah.
take care of their families.
Yes.
And also, I'll mention, whenever I see in them little things that I do, little sayings that I might say, they're saying, I say, wow, they do listen to me. But yeah, that's the most.
And to add to that, really, is that what Alan just said is that his children are older than our children, and so he's at a different level of fatherhood than I. He said self-sustain, and I'm saying, shoot, just self-gratification that they listen to doing something I'm asking them to do. So there are different levels of fatherhood. It doesn't get, it doesn't change. It does change, but as life goes on, and you just, like you said, self-sustaining.
So let me ask this then. The media want us to believe that there are a lot of deadbeat dads, right? And there are some, right? Let's be true. Let's tell the truth about it. And I know you both know other men who has not taken an active role in their kids' lives. What made you want to be an active and available and a present father?
Alan goes first this time.
Your
turn.
All right, that's easy. I grew up in a home where my father wasn't there, and I met him at age 38.
Wow.
I knew of him, but he wasn't there. So I made a point to where I wanted to definitely be there for my children. Now, I do have a child outside of the marriage, but he and I are very close. In fact, I call him probably twice a week. So I wanted to give my children something that I didn't have. So that was the driving force for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it was my family. That's just stuff that I did as a kid, because my mother has 12 brothers and sisters, so it's a large extended family. We got together every year for family reunions. My uncles up in Detroit, Michigan, they're the Stonehenge of the family. They keep us together. Uncle Melvin, they always, stress getting together. And we meet down in West Virginia, and we've just been doing that all our lives. And so whether, a father was involved or not, I had uncles and aunts and just a big family to see how a big family survives and work through it and stay together. And we still get together, and not a lot of other families that do that I know of, but we still do. And that, I think I just learned a lot from being around a lot of people in my family.
Okay. Let me say one more thing.
Sure.
So I didn't grow up in the typical nuclear family where you had 2 parents, 2 children and a dog. But what I did have is a grandmother that reared me. And I had very active other family members, such as uncles, aunts. I also had coaches involved. And then, of course, on my job, I had mentors, too. So that kind of goes back to that it takes a village to raise a family. I had that village around me. Yeah. So I wanted to see that my children had the same thing.
And with that said, when you say takes a village, I mean, I'm fathering other kids.
Yeah.
I see them in the neighborhood. I don't even know them. Hey,
yeah,
don't do that, man. Come on, this is where we live. I'll talk to them just like I talk to my kids, and it's not about being mean or anything. It's just I'm comfortable with you. You know, I'm that figure. You can say anything you want to me. We can have that conversation. Just be respectful. Right. We have to sit each other down and yell at each other. That's fine. Let it out. At least you're expressing yourself. I'd rather have you express yourself than just sit there and not say anything. At least it lets me know where you're coming from. And, we don't have that type of communication with kids too much nowadays because they're texting. It's social media,
So both of you all have a son and a daughter.
Right.
So what's the how do you raise your son differently than you raise your daughter?
I guess it's my turn.
Yes, that's good because the next question he gonna wish it was your turn.
All right, so how to say that again?
How do you think you raised your son differently than your daughter?
For me, it was like a female. I didn't, I remember us talking about it, and we said, you would take Tasia and do her hair and all that stuff, and when we had a boy, then, that would be my thing. So I kind of took that. So I
literally,
yeah, I did, and I still do today. But we still have a good relationship. We have a good. It's Father's Day.
Oh, yes, literally.
we have a good relationship. But I think with her it was like you're first. And so your first child comes through and you don't know what you're doing and you do the things. And then like when the second child comes along, you've experienced it a little bit, so you may approach it differently. And it didn't help that she was a female and he was a boy. Dude, you can't do that. I did it 50 million times. I'm telling you, as a man, that doesn't work. But as a female, I'm like, I ain't never did that before. I ain't got nothing for that one. Hey, Sherelle, what would you do? So I think as it goes with experience, as the more kids you have, you face more experiences that you're ready to handle. So
do you make your son do things that your daughter didn't have to do?
Definitely, because you do things that I don't do. Because that's just how it goes.
It's Father's Day. We're not talking about me and you.
I can say anything I want. Definitely, because there's things, like Jalen now he's been doing it, but he opens the door for you and any other female he sees. That's just the thing that he does, because that's the thing that I do. I don't. Tasia, get the door. Here I come, Tasia, hurry up, run up there and get the door. When the man come in the house, get the door.
Anyway, Alan. Okay. How did you raise your son differently than your daughter?
Of course, there are certain things that I don't know that my wife knows that she would approach my daughter for. Mm-hmm. But I also kind of use their personality too. I kind of fed off of that because there may be one that you may have to gently tell a certain way, and there's the other one you may have to say, listen, I told you to do this. So,
I wonder which one that is. We'll find out later.
But one thing I want to point out, as Jim said, with the first one, that's kind of the one it's a trial and error thing. You know, you make mistakes. And over the years, I have made mistakes. Some things I did, I wish I hadn't done. But as you grow and as you learn, one thing I did realize, if I did make a mistake, I go back and say, look, that wasn't right what I said or what I did. This is the way to do it, or this is what I should have said. So if you can keep that approach, irrespective of what you say or do, you can always build and learn from that. So I guess I was a little more heavy-handed with my boy than I was with my daughter. But I talked to her more because I feel like I had to, because she was, I guess, a little more tender with her feelings. At least I felt that way.
Okay.
I think that was all that act. She had daddy rap. Daddy rap.
I don't know. No comment.
And so, having African American men, what do you tell them about their interactions with the police?
I guess I'm first.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a retired public servant.
Yes.
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 So I have a very healthy respect for law enforcement because I worked very closely with them for years. So what I tell them to do is do exactly what you're told. Keep your hands where they can be seen. I even go as far as say keep your license, your registration, your proof of insurance right here. So whenever it's time to go get it, you can put your hand on it and ask permission for that. But just give respect, you know, and don't get smart, because I see things go south on a lot of videos when someone gets smart. You know, if you dispute what they say, the place to fight that out is in court.
Okay.
Not on the scene, because you know, you really don't have any playing cards there. So that's my approach to that.
I'm like, don't bring attention to yourself. I know it's not your fault, but you know, if you're riding around driving with your hoodie on, and they get a call, APBE out for somebody with a hoodie, they just robbed a bank. You know, that's going to put you right in the running for them to pull you over, just because you went down the street with your hoodie on. And, you know, to me, that's avoidable. Don't reach for nothing. Keep your hands up. You know, talk to them politely. Again, like Alan said, you know, the time to fight is not there on the side of the street because they're not hearing it. I just showed Jalen a video this morning of, it's going viral. The family who was in the car, and the little daughter sold the baby doll for $1.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the police, the one cop was just out of control. And so the rest of them, they rolled up reacting to what he was doing. And he pulled up with a gun, telling everybody to get out the car. Nobody in the family knew the little girl took the doll. And she ran to the car, and he runs
dropping
up
the F-bomb everywhere.
And I showed Jalen that video this morning. I said, man, you know, you have to be careful, because this is how they can roll up on you. And you have to just be respectful. And, you know, again, you know, you may not want to do what they saying, but you have to.
Yes.
And don't reach for anything. Just keep your hands up.
So what kind of advice do you all give your daughters about dating? Jim's first this time.
Thank God. That's Jenny's wheelhouse, isn't it?
Don't trust them. Don't trust them. One more. Let me see what else. Don't trust them. I've told her, you know, look for a man who's going to treat you like I treat you. All the rest is on her, you know, but she knows how I treat her, and she's seen how I've treated you through our life. So I do that for a reason, you know, as an example. I can't really control what type of brother she likes, you know, because, you know, there's, you know, 8 million stories out there. You know, you say you do the right thing, you put them in Catholic school and, you know, keep them away from little boys. And next thing you know, they want the thug dude. You know, like, where you get that from, man? You don't have a thug bone in your body. You know, see.
Thug it out.
So, yeah, the best thing I say is just find a dude that's going to treat you right. And you know what that is, because I've done it to you and your mother. So, and you've seen it within the uncles through our family, so and the people in our family. So a dude who treats a woman right. The rest of it is life, and you're gonna have to work that out.
Right.
That's the basic. Somebody's gonna treat you right.
I get it.
Yeah.
My man treat me right.
I'm probably not the right one to ask this question, but here you go.
Yeah, here you go.
So, I've tried, as Jim said, to emulate what a good man should be, how they should do, how they should treat a woman by seeing the interaction between Jenny and I. Also, I spent a lot of time with her. Just giving her advice. Whether she want to hear it or not, I tell her anyway, and so she knows how I am. So maybe by seeing me and by seeing our interactions, she'll say that's the type of person I want. Also, as Jim mentioned, you can do all the right things, and you really don't know what's going to happen on the other end of that. So all you can do is give the best advice you can at the time. If you see something obvious in a guy that she brings home, you have to say it. Hey, you might want to watch this because yada yada yada.
Don't trust him.
Don't trust him. Exactly.
Don't trust him.
I'm liking that more and more. But that's more my wife's wheelhouse. I don't know.
So, what advice do you give your sons? What's the most important advice you've gave your son about being a man?
I done told him so much stuff. All I can do is go with the latest.
We'll take the latest.
All right. You have to be careful out here. You can't get sucked. You have to be always aware of what situation you possibly are getting yourself into. And you have to think beyond the now. What's happening now. It all sounds good, right? Most kids think about what's happening now. It's all good now.
Go ahead.
But he lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. My computer went down, so I want to fix it.
To look past what's happening now. It all sounds good. Again, social media, people text, they don't communicate, and it's all right now. But you have to think about, getting yourself into situations because now the consequences are going to be greater. As a child, mom and dad may be able to bail you out, come up to the school and say something, but out here, there's this thing called life. And you're at what I told him the other day was he has to be careful also because he's at high school and there's a point where not him but this does happen and can happen where there's a child who's 18 in high school.
Yes,
and he's a senior and he's messing with a younger girl and she's underage. And so you have to be careful because you're at that point, man, you're dating and you got to realize and think about, the age of these young ladies that you have interest in because it can go down real quick. And these court systems are not, easy on our young men.
Right. What about you, Alan?
Well, not only to my son, but also I told my daughter the number one thing you can do is have a relationship with Christ because we are Christians.
Yes.
But
yes, indeed.
And by having that relationship, if you make a mistake, we have a scripture to say He'll cause all things to work together for good for those who love God and called according to His purpose. So other than that, I tell him, I said, listen, man, you don't want to reduce your options, which means you don't want to do something silly. And then they said, well, you can't work over here or you're restricted to doing this for the rest of your life. So don't reduce your options. Get a good education, but number one in my book is have a relationship with Christ, and He'll do the rest.
Number one, yeah.
And so one of the things I hear a lot, as you both know, I coach and mentor a lot of women, and I'm just always blown away at the behaviors that they accept in relationships and the behaviors that they bring to the relationship. And so I'd like to know, how do you talk to your kids about being respectful in a relationship and how to exit that relationship respectfully?
Next.
That's a lot packed
Next.
in that one there.
Okay, let me.
Next. Jalen 16.
He still need to be respectful though. I will tell you that, I talk to my kids about that because I need them to understand that, first of all, you don't have to stay in a relationship you don't want to be in, but you don't need to treat somebody nasty on your way out. You can be in and I tell Jalen, be careful how you treat the young ladies because they have feelings, and you want to make sure that even if that's not somebody you want to be with, when you depart from that person, you leave them with their dignity. Absolutely. And you leave them with their, with their feelings as much intact as possible. You can't control their feelings, but at least you can hold your head up high and know that you treated somebody right on your way out. I try to tell people that all the time, the ladies that I coach and mentor. It's about really showing up and making sure that when you show up, you know what you want. And the minute you seeing the disrespect, if they, start out disrespecting you at any point in the beginning of that relationship, it's not going to get better. It's time to go, right? Because respect is really the foundation of any relationship. And if you don't have respect, then, that relationship is doomed. So I think I have enough time to ask you all one more question before we go to break. And let me see. I'd like to ask, when it comes to employment, right? Do you talk to your kids about acceptable behavior as a professional in the workplace?
Yes. I tell my daughter,
Jalen 16.
but for Jalen, it's acceptable behavior in the classroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what's acceptable for him. Because, the behavior that you display in the classroom is usually what you take into the workplace.
So number one.
You didn't know that?
Nah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You remember what you did in 11th grade geometry class?
Mm-hmm. And I did it in the workplace when I first went into the workplace because I just didn't know, right? Mm-hmm. And once somebody pulled my coattail, Margaret Johnson, she was like, "No, ma'am, that's not how that you get down." Right. And that's how I learned. Mm-hmm. So it's important, to have those conversations no matter what stage they're in. Go ahead, Alice.
The first thing I say is either you're early or you're late. Mm-hmm. If you're on time, you're late.
Okay.
So be punctual, be dependable. In other words, if you have to go in Monday through Friday, go in Monday through Friday. And while you're there, I always say, kind of ease into the job because there's office politics in every job. Learn what that is and try to walk in lockstep with that. And then the rules are there for a reason. And then when you go in, give an honest day's work. Not taking breaks all the time, but do what you're told to do. And if you have some issues that you don't quite understand, ask about it. And that's just the basics where I start.
I tell the people who work for me, your hours are Monday through Friday. You're at a minimum supposed to give me 8.5 hours Monday through Friday. Don't plan nothing on my time. Absolutely. You don't want me to plan nothing on your time on the weekends. Don't plan nothing on my time during the week. And that's what I say to them because, people, they don't realize that, the first thing about having a job is coming to work.
Yes.
and you would think it would go without saying, but it doesn't.
I concur.
So, all right. So we are going to thank Jim and Alan for being on the show. Alan, I hope it wasn't too painful for you. And we're going to take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to have Jeremy and Christian.
Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle, and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
Woman, thou art great. Yes, you are. Woman, thou art great.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. I have to my left Jeremy and to my right Christian.
Hello, hello.
And these are Alan Dorn's son and daughter. So his adult children. So we're gonna have a little fun talking to them about being a child of a retired fire chief, right? So let's get this started. So I'm gonna start with you, Jeremy. So Jeremy, what can you tell us is the one thing that your father did while you lived in the house with him that just would irk your nerve?
I don't know. The first thing I was thinking of was the food thing, because every time we have some food in the food thing.
The food thing.
The food thing. The food thing is you go out to eat and you have a box of food that you put in. Mine is Jeremiah. And it's all free game for Dad. So he just go in there and just you have a steak and you come back with the bone and they leave you the biscuits.
Yeah, that's annoying at my house too. Okay, Christian, you said you was gonna say the same thing.
Well, I was going to say something very similar. So the number one thing that really irritated me about living at home with my parents was related to food, but I really like to eat in my room and do my homework. And it was like the cardinal sin to eat in your room. And so I said to myself, when I move out, I'm going to eat at night in my bed, and ain't nobody gonna tell me to stop. Because it really would be DEFCON 5 if I had some chips or a drink in my room at night. So that was the number one thing.
Yeah.
So what's the one piece of advice, good advice that you got that you didn't appreciate it at the time when you got it, but now it's just like, oh dang, he told me that.
My dad drops nuggets and just like drops mics and walk out. So it really sits on you. I could say the one piece of advice, earlier you guys touched on, the police, and interacting with them in a respectful manner. That's something that I think has definitely been very relevant. I say aside from that, definitely like having a certain integrity with everything that you do, like with your work, with how you treat people, the respect that you give people, relationship or otherwise. Definitely making sure you represent yourself well. And, it makes it easy, like, if you're a Christian too, because then you kind of have like a standard. And like Christian, you don't have to be Christian, whatever, but I'm just saying, being a Christian, I also have a standard to like that I want to uphold too. So like that integrity, I think, is probably a big piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
The biggest piece of advice that my father instilled in me at a young age was to have integrity and to always fear the Lord. So those are the two that I walk out today. So even things as small as cheating on HOV with the transponder, and I have done that recently, and it's like a voice in the back of my head is like, that's dishonest. And so, those are the two.
So did you call the people and say, I owe you $20?
No, I didn't. I asked God to forgive me.
Right.
And I received grace from God. Amen.
I got you next time, government. Pay my taxes. Pay my taxes.
Right. Okay, so you all, I've been knowing for quite a while now. I remember when you all were little kids, and now you all are all grown up. So what's the one thing you really appreciate about having your own place?
Christian.
Man.
You said cursing.
Honestly, that might be a good one. Because sometimes you just need to let it out, man. Sometimes.
Jeremy's so funny. I think the biggest, what I love about having my own place is, even though of a certain age, when I was living at home, I always had to tell my parents where I was going, and I had to be home at a certain time. And I feel that even though I don't do anything wild and crazy, having my own place, I don't have to worry or answer to anybody at what time I come in, even if I'm at church or even if I'm going out to eat with some girlfriends. I don't have to, write a police report on what I'm doing and put my GPS tracker on and all those kind of things. But I love to have my own freedom, and it's helped me in my diet, believe it or not, with having my own food to eat, because my father likes to eat our food. But so that's what I'm just joking. He doesn't eat my food. I don't care. Jeremy,
I do.
I didn't care. Yeah.
I think for me, I appreciate the time I have to think and wind down. And I love my parents, I love my sister, I love everyone in my family very dearly. But sometimes you don't realize the time that you give to, and not even just in a bad way, but just sitting and watching shows, which are quality time that I would never trade for the world. But then when sometimes it's good to be able to decompress things just that happen at work, or just different, writing your journal if you journal or whatever. So I appreciate the time that I have, even praying in the morning, getting on that routine where I can have my sacred time to refill myself so I can give to the people I love. So that's good, and it makes you appreciate the time that you spend with your family when you do get linked back up with them even more, calling them, talking on the phone, versus before, all right, me and Albert going to a party, I'll be back at this time, and then every 5 minutes, getting a call or text from mom. Now it's you actually talk to, call, hey, how you doing, and you appreciate that time, so.
Yeah, can I piggyback on that? I also felt that when I moved out, it made our relationship better, because when you're in a space with a person for a long periods of time, they see the good and the bad and the ugly of you. And since I've moved out, we don't have such a strained relationship. We can see each other, spend good quality time, and then go to our separate locations.
You know why the relationship was strained?
Why?
Because you lived there.
Exactly.
Because you was living in their house. That's why it was strained.
Yeah.
I just want you to be clear on that.
You're right. I can see that. You're absolutely right.
You can see that? Okay.
I know you're right. But we needed our own space.
Everything in the box at the door.
Yeah, it was their space, and you're right. I respect that, and now they have to respect mine.
Oh, absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
Period.
Hey, ask Tage how many times I've been down to Virginia Beach. So Jeremy, as a son, did you ever have those moments when you thought your dad was harder on you than he was on your sister?
Absolutely. Absolutely, for sure. No doubt about it. Second that again.
Second that again.
But I needed it, though. I needed it. Boys, I think you need, sometimes we can be a little bit more hard-headed. Not all the time, but,
most of the time.
Most of the time.
And Christian, you sitting up there, were you daddy's little princess?
I think I was mom and dad's princess. I think I was the princess
Which one
of
y'all
everybody.
the favorite of your fathers?
I think that I'm everybody's favorite. No, just because I'm such a great person. No, no, really I am. But no,
let the cute face fool you.
No, but honestly, truthfully, I feel like Jeremy is the favorite, and everybody loves Jeremy because he's really handsome and he's funny. He can talk to people, but I didn't get it in trouble as much.
No, comes with its downsides.
So, Jeremy, did your dad teach you about? Because one of the things I hear a lot is, and I hear mothers saying this, that the sons are growing up and they don't know how to do certain things around the house. And so, did your dad teach you what types of things did he teach you how to do around the house?
You take a lot of that for granted, and I have some other peers that may not have had their dad play as active of a role in their lives as my father did in mine. So like little things like tying a tie, I'm good at that. You know, bow tie. You know, shaving. You know, my dad used to use the cream. What's the name of the cream? It smells like booty. Smelled like booty. Everybody knew when Dad was shaving in the morning. But you know, you learn things like that. Cleaning, being clean is a big thing. You know, we had our chores, and you know, those are things that there was no question about it. You know. Another thing, waking up for church in the morning on Sunday, we were able to go out. You know, they were very allowing of us to be able to, you know, have fun and do things. But like, no matter what type of night you had, and we went to church in Warrenton, which was about 45 to an hour. So we had to be up and ready to go. So you know, that teaches you responsibility, especially in the workplace. You know, it doesn't matter what you got responsibilities. So, you know, things like that, cleanliness, you know, yeah, I mean.
Did you have to mow the lawn?
I did have to mow the lawn.
Did you have to take the trash out?
I had to take the trash out. I had a little lawn care business. I cut everybody on my street. Yeah, with my dad's help.
Did your father have to remind you to take the trash out?
He did, but I caught the point. I feel like after a couple times, you know.
We got somebody over here in the peanut gallery.
Baby.
Just yelling out.
Yeah, you know, I had to. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot a couple times. But then when stuff started missing around the house, then you realize, okay, wait a minute, that needs to be done. And then, you know, so yeah, he told me that. Yeah.
What about you?
When I look at people who live at home or who were raised with a father and who weren't, I see a lot of differences, especially as a woman. And I always say you don't have to touch fire to know that it's hot. And so even though I grew up with a father, I can see how some people, their life is not having it. And we were just talking about this earlier, is having a father in my life has made my relationship with God stronger. Just because, you know, God is a father and I'm able to freely love God the Father. Having a father also has taught me how to be tough and how to, you know, do certain things with the car by myself that he taught me how to do those type of things. Taught me how to take care of things around the house, how to build things, go fishing. I don't know. I guess that doesn't really have any impact anymore.
Well, teach a man how to fish.
Hey, for a lifetime.
But he taught me, you know, how to fish, you know, so that I'll always eat, and how to be a hard worker. That's a good one, Jeremy, we didn't talk about, is my father worked for the fire department, and he would get up no matter what time we went to bed the night before, I guess like maybe 12 o'clock, at 3 or 4 o'clock every day to go down to work. And so that work ethic has been instilled in myself and Jeremy. Jeremy's successful in his own right, and by God's grace, I am as well. So that, I think, is something that we didn't touch on, but it's really been impactful in our life.
So what do you think you've learned from your father that you'll take into a marriage?
Patience and understanding, I'll probably say.
So you saying your mama he needed a lot of patience?
Oh yeah. Everybody needs patience with my mom.
Oh, everybody needs patience with his mom. I know what you're saying. Right.
I love my mom to death, you know, and just to anybody though, but just in general with anybody, because my dad has been in some situations where he had to employ patience, to say the least. But yeah, you know, patience and understanding for sure, because I even catch myself. I jump to conclusions so quick. I thought my friend stole my charger the other day, like little things. Found it in my bathroom, you know. But I'm learning to be like understanding and, you know, to take, you know, and these are very like childish ancillary ways of like employing that, but patience and understanding.
Okay.
100%.
What I've learned about my dad is his character. Definitely the patience one. Learning how to like be quiet and just letting it go sometimes, and then the patience, letting it go, being a hard worker, and just doing good for people, even though they may not do the right thing. I see that in him all the time, being charitable and loving others. So I'll take that into a marriage, but definitely the patience and letting things go. Those are the two I would take into a marriage that I've learned from my father.
Yeah, because your parents been married over 30 years at this point, and you know, that is to be applauded, right? They have figured out a formula that works for them. And one of the things,
What came to mind
right?
was
Everybody had their own
dysfunction.
thing, right?
So I'm just joking.
Look, it's all dysfunctional. I'm gonna tell you, being married,
you
it's,
work.
that's right.
Yeah.
You work with the dysfunction that you bring to the relationship and the dysfunction that the spouse brings to the
I'm
relationship.
cool with your dysfunction. So
Right.
we're gonna be dysfunctional together.
As long as we can make it work. So when we joked about this, but what is it that you see in your father and how she treats your and how he treats your mother that you find admirable?
Yeah.
He treats her like his queen, for sure. You know, even at points when
She's
I know
wrong.
mom is wrong.
No, it's true though.
It doesn't matter.
really
That's
true.
my wife, and you will respect her. Period. The end. You
Yep.
know, and that's one thing that, like fellas, sometimes people get into relationships and they have kids soon, and it becomes about the kid or the child, but you forget like there was a relationship before that came. So having that bond and like that first and foremost, like this is us, and everything else is an add-on. I think that like that is a certain respect that is a certain, I don't know, it's like a certain it just pours over to everything else. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty like Jim, like with you, like that you are his woman, and his children can see that, like out of the love.
We
that
call
we
it
have.
Team Higgins. It's us against y'all.
Yeah. This is
They like our last name Higgins. I'm like, well, we ain't talking about that part.
Yeah, but no, like I think you have to, just treating my mom like a queen. I think is probably the thing that I will take, because that's special. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the same, piggybacking what Jeremy said, that even when my mom is wrong or she does something wrong.
Okay, let me just say this. Their mother is in the studio. And if she don't know nothing else, she can leave here today knowing that she has been wrong.
And she has done wrong. And we need patience for her.
Right.
No, but, there's vice versa. It's, twofold. But what I see and how my father treats my mother is, at the end of the day, that's his wife. He respects her. And I may come to him and say, your wife did this. And she was wrong. And he was like, okay, Christian, she's still my wife. Respect her. You know what I mean? And so he does respect her. He doesn't degrade her in public. He doesn't. And he doesn't degrade
at all.
No, I've never seen
in
that.
public. What you saying at the house?
No, I don't see him. He doesn't degrade. Yeah, no.
In public though, you don't want to like
Right.
Some people like disrespect their child's mother in public, or this day and age we see it on social media, talking about people, whatever. But I don't see that. I don't see that with my father. I see him praying for her to get, and I'm not saying that she doesn't. She needs prayer. I need prayer. We all need prayer.
Especially when she wrong. She need the 2 P's, prayer and patience.
I do need it. Prayer and patience. Two P's.
No, not 2 P's.
Not the 2. No, not the 2
No
P's.
2 P's. She give you the 2 P's. And you keep messing with it.
Yeah, no 2 pieces.
But he respects her. And so any man that comes into my life has to respect me. And so I have those standards because I see it every day.
So tell me, what's one of your most favorite moments when you was with your dad and y'all was just being father, son, or daughter, father?
Christian, you can go first on that one.
I don't really have one favorite time, but I just spend a lot of time with my dad because I think our personalities are the same. We find the same things funny. When we were younger, we used to sing and make songs a lot and, beatbox. We used to do handshakes all the time. But I just think we hang out because we like the same type of comedy and we talk all the time. And I'm very talkative, and so I demand attention. I'm being honest, and that's why I guess I was able to finagle, was because I demand a lot of attention. And Jeremy's really a quiet, nice guy. And so I just tend to be like, look at me. That's how I've always been. Jeremy he's a sweet. Look, he's so sweet. He's a sweet boy. God bless my brother. But yeah, that's what I guess my favorite time is when, I guess as a child, was when he would do remixes on like Mary Had a Little Lamb, and he would kind of make it he would say the southern, I don't know, how do we say it, the ghetto version, and he would remix it, and it was really funny to me. I thought that was really hilarious. So yeah, that's my favorite time.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say definitely the stories have been good. My dad and I, he's really into music. I'm really into music. So there'll be times that I just literally send him something. I'll call him like, Dad, like, what's this song? Like, who did this? And then we'll get to talking about music and like the, whole like history of that particular artist or song. My dad is really, really funny. So he'll send us like, there's this video. I think it was the one where the guy was a reporter in like, Oklahoma or Midwest, and the fly gets in his mouth.
I saw that.
Oh, the man, yeah.
So we laugh about a lot of type of stuff, like, so just my dad's in general cool to be around, like, just all around. It's no real specific time. Just being around dad is pretty fun.
So if you had to give your father some advice of how to parent you differently as an adult, what would that advice be?
I wouldn't say I necessarily have advice, but I could say the things that I know, like, help me, would say, like, the talking, like, communicating. Like Jim said earlier when you guys were talking, he said, even if you yell at me or whatever, be respectful, obviously, but, get it out, because now I know how you're feeling. So those, like, opportunities to be able to talk with my dad about different things, definitely help change my perspective on a lot and grow. And that's something that I don't think that a lot of guys have. You know what I mean? Even if they are in their in their kid's life now, it's kind of like a show, like an accessory. Like, I got my son and he got some J's and I'm out doing my thing. You know what I mean? So I think those like quality conversations.
You look real cool when you did that. That's my son, yo. And he got some kids.
But the conversations for sure, Conversations for sure, like I think, communicating with your child, like that aspect of his parenting definitely helped groom me into a better man for real.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that they should do anything different because what was done has made me who I am. So I would say, if ever I were to give any advice, would be to everyone just to lean on the Holy Spirit. Let God help you with your decision making, because what Jeremiah may have needed is not what Christian may have needed, or Tasia versus Jalen. And just let God lead you with how to deal with your children, because some of us have different personalities, and I think just encouraging them to, period. That's all. Yeah. I wouldn't say anything else.
Okay, so, of course, time goes by really quickly when we're doing the show, and we have about 1 minute and 45 seconds. So I'd like to give you all about 10 seconds each to say one parting thing to your father as we close out this show.
I'll go first. I love you, Dad. Thank you for all that you've done. Thank you, and Mom, for supporting me and pushing me to pursue my career, my education, and to be a strong, ethical woman, and to always notice and remember everybody. Thanks.
Love you, Dad. My role model. I appreciate all the lessons that you've taught me. I appreciate the way that you love my mother, and gonna make you proud. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
That was nice. Tasia and Jalen, I hope y'all watching. So I want to thank my guest today, of course, my lovely husband, Jim Higgins. Hey, babe, happy Father's Day. I'd like to thank Alan Dorn. Happy Father's Day. You did a great job. And Christian and Jeremy, thank you all so much for participating in this. This was actually really fun. And I'd like to close the show by saying Happy Father's Day to my own father, who is probably somewhere chilling, hoping don't nobody talk to him. Okay. All right. Have a good Sunday. We'll see you next week.